shortcut English. Sorry. We do that very radical, and Christianus likes is waiting, yeah, so we try to be very fast, but I can't hinder myself to make a comment on that, what I have heard in the second session now, so far. Unfortunately, the two respondents are awake, so I just wanted to say something. It's a little bit cruel. I personally think that I mean, those of you who know me, I have worked, and forget for the moment this company there. I mean, as long as I'm in Latvia and in Finland active, I've worked in the kind of junction point between society and cultural heritage protection. So for 8 years, nearly 9 years, I'm dealing with this. And in my work and in all my experience in the last years, and also that what we have done in research, I came actually to one major conclusion, specifically when I'm looking on Latvia and the somewhat still kind of fresh independence you have. I think the highest value that we have to protect with our work, and which we are specifically in Latvia do not do yet, is democracy. It's much more important than any building and than any natural aspect and anything else. Because when we protect democracy, we protect human dignity and also natural environmental dignity. Only then. Because then you can't kick exactly these dignities with the feet. So this is a little bit that what I'm missing when I'm listening to that, and which I would have liked to comment. And actually it's a perfect introduction for that what we are talking about now, because community development is a perfect tool to try to guarantee that. Specifically because community development tries to act together with planners, with architects, with authorities, with administrations, with that what is left over, the inhabitants, the people, these unfortunate mass, which nobody wants to have actually very often because they're disturbing. So we are kind of an, a platform. We offer our bodies, ourselves as a platform, and you can dance on that and make your kind of community development. So today we want to talk about something, how to say, new in Northeastern Europe, but in a way also a little bit new for Central Europe, where the idea of community development in its very origin, as we're talking about that, also known in German as Quartiersmanagement or as neighborhood management in English, is coming from. But also there in Central Europe, it's not that, how to say, fresh, or it's not that kind of traditional to work in small cities, in really small communities with modern tools of community development. So therefore, we want to introduce you to our actual project, which is right now finishing its second part. We'll see if we manage the third part. We call it the J.Buchel case. A difficult case. Believe me, it's a difficult case. It's unbelievably difficult. Especially when a Latvian young man comes to central Finland and has to realize that out there in normality is silence. It's total silence. Probably a Latvian young man has thought Latvians are silent. There is silence. Complete silence. So, just shortly introduce you where we are. Next one. Southern Finland. You see the triangle. Where's the dot point? Is it this one? So you have the triangle, or actually you have a central capital of Helsinki. If we are thinking a little bit in the spatial terms, then we have to also see the belts. So the first belt is actually the belts Turku, Tampere, Lahti, Kouvola, and Kolka. These are going around here and around Helsinki. The actually inner belt is for sure Vantaa and Espoo of Helsinki. And then we have Tampere as one of the 3 big cities and regions also, with its environment, with its surrounding, called Pirkanmaa, Tampere region, or in Swedish actually it's Birkenland, so in German also, so birchland. And in the north, directly on the border to Keski-Suomi, here starts Keski-Suomi, which means translated central Finland, we have Vilppula. Next one. So this is the nowadays municipality of Vilppula. We shortly explain it afterwards. We have here so-called Vilppula, but actually it's Mente. We have we have here actually Vilppula, this is Mente, and we have 2 other parts which are very important for the city. One is here, Kolho, and one is village over there. Okay, next one. This is the city center of Vilppula, so the city center of Mente and the city center of Vilppula. Vilppula has a railway connection. Mente, although it is pretending to have a railway connection, doesn't have it anymore. Next one. So we are talking about a city which is really in the archipelago of a wide prospering hub, Tampere, the, in fact, economically most prospering area in whole Northern Europe. No other city region has this economical development interest. And we're talking about 12,000 inhabitants, 12. This is really also for Latvian case, it's quite small. We are talking about 2 entities with a complete different setting, character, atmosphere, which had been united, consolidated is the official term, I don't like that very much, united in 2009. So it's a very fresh thing, very fresh. I should explain, interruption, in this moment, that the Finnish government has decided 7 years ago, with its territorial administrative reform plans, to make out of 450 municipalities, in a long-term plan, 150. So they want to reduce 3 times, which is for sure an enormous effort. First of all, just like without any kind of value in that, it's an enormous effort. It's extremely difficult. This is number 1. Number 2 is, this is the 3rd municipality. I'm working as a community developer in Pirkanmaa, in that region, trying to help them, assist them with this merging process, because they are unbelievably difficult. And in the end, there is one thing which is, it's a rather normal and small municipality, but it is not normal in one term. And that is really the biggest catastrophe of the city and at the same time the biggest luck. It is hosting, and please take that figure, it is hosting, either shown in the public or in its archives, 75% of all valuable Finnish art before 1950. A 12,000 community in the edge of the woods. Think about that. In the same time, it's hosting the most important North European contemporary art festival each summer. Also that. So suddenly there are rushing 10,000 of people in the city, literally. There's one hotel left over, one. We know that very well. And that's it. Everything else is no hotel, there's nothing. Yeah? So, quite a challenge. Next one. So, here are the 4 community parts, which all have their own identity, their own strong character. We start with the industrial and art community in there. It actually calls itself also like that, art municipality. Then we have the complete rural Pohjoislavki. This was on the northwest side, I showed you, I even couldn't find it myself really. Then we have this agricultural center Vilppula, the one with the railway connection. And then we have the industrial rural Kolho, a very interesting thing. There's really industry on the one hand, on the other hand you're really in the village, in the rural setting, which is very interesting. And this Kolbo is in one perspective very interesting. It had been just, when was it? Some weeks ago, elected to be village #1. Most valuable village in Finland. Nobody understands really why. Okay. Next one. So, this is your part.
Es piedalos arī manas kopā Erasmus praksē. Man izpēta bija par kopienu integrāciju un sabiedrisko līdzdalību. Es arī pētīju Somijas plānošanas sistēmu un tās līdzdalības formas un raksturot Somijas plānošanas sistēmu. Tur ir 3 plānošanas līmeņi. Somijam nav nacionālā plānojuma, jo liela uzmanība tiek vērsta uz reģionālo un lokālajām vietām. Reģionālajās pārvaldēs ir vēlēti pārstāvji un arī pašvaldībās. Un, jā, lielākā atšķirība Latviju un Somiju ir tas, ka ir dažādas iespējas līdzdalības, kas ir jāizstrādā pirms uzsākot plānojumu, un jā, ir jāparedz kopienas attīstības plāns.
Just to add, in this respect, in this project, we actually had to work with all the levels because different projects who are parallel running to the project that we are working with had been on different levels. So that means there was a regional project level, there was a state project level, even though just right now starting, and there is a very much municipality-based project level. So the big question is the why. Why at all community development in Finland, in a country similar to the Baltic states where there is no community development yet in that form existing? It's simply not there. Put it pointedly, frankly like that. So why suddenly there? Please. If you believe it or not, one of the richest countries in the world, but Finnish communities are at risk. Extremely. The same as in the Baltic states, in eastern Poland, in eastern Germany, in central Italy. Go on. So we have basically, you can read that partly yourself, I will simply summarize. We have basically the major important point of the fact that we have to deal with the questions of shrinking communities, massively shrinking communities. So far that many of them start to die, even in a rich country like Finland, or even in Norway. Why else, for example, Norway would have such an attractive program even to get foreigners inside the country, to drag them in, like with 2 years tax-free, with a free house to live in, when you just settle down there. And you don't need to be, I don't know, professor, doctor something, or a very good engineer. You can be a normal social worker like I am. It's no problem. They beg you to come there because in some areas they really are lacking simply human beings and they need humans. Interesting, they need humans. Yeah. It's necessary sometimes. So Finland is a monstrous country. It's huge, it's really huge. I think it's a first step to understand Russia, which I have visited very often, is to go to Finland, really. And also culturally a little bit. So, and the point is that you actually need somehow to deal with it. Maybe you say this community is worth dying. Okay, then let's die. Let die. It doesn't matter. It's no problem. But in a way, you have to deal with it, and in a way, you have to decide about that. You can't simply say from somewhere from top, okay, Riga is depopulating, so let's die. So we have to talk about that. Other state departments has to deal with this question. We have to deal with this question as inhabitants. Although I'm not but I'm still in that. Yeah. Okay. Next one. The most important or most difficult problem that we can actually analyze, that we can diagnose, that we can, however you call it, if you say therapeutical, you would say diagnose. And it's actually a therapeutical question. We have a communication gap. These communication gaps are huge. Short, again, sidestep. Judas mentioned that, or was talking about the harmony in the city. I do not agree. Absolutely not. I love Riga because it has conflicts. I, as an intellectual, need these conflicts, otherwise I can't survive. Otherwise I'm not attracted. I need something to drag me in. And this harmony, sure, we all need harmony, that's normal. But we need also a little bit something else. We need something to happen. We need some tensions going on. And exactly those tensions are guaranteeing that this gap is not so big. Unfortunately, in the Finnish societies, you have, and especially in the culture, you have one problem, a tremendous problem. You have many persons and many target groups who are actually not talking with each other. I mean, not at all talking with each other. That means elderly people, and elderly are the ones like, I would say, I'm 45, so I'm elderly. So it's not post 50, it's post 40 approximately. And then there is here, under 25. I mean, he was already very old for this. We worked hard with students, and I think we were the oldest one there, and more or less dangerously old. So these both groups, they really don't talk with each other, but they even don't conflict with each other. They don't do anything. I mean, this is like, you can't believe it, but this is like simply dead. It's really, literally dead. That's why he called it always so nicely. 10 o'clock in the evening, I'm sitting in front of a computer and working, and in the backside, somebody's sitting in front of a computer in the hotel room, and then he says, okay, I'm going out checking normality. So normality was empty. Next one, please. So what to do? Next one. This is our project name. If you can speak a bit Finnish, you are allowed to try to pronounce it. It says Valva Kaupunki. If not, then forget it. Part 1. That means something like as well philosophically as also physically lighted city, so that the city gets enlightened. Next one. So the first one actually was due to the point that was a 5-month process. Starting in the beginning of 2009, there was an actual city planning process, and we started to develop a participation program in order to activate inhabitants, but nearly, how to say, like all target groups of inhabitants to be involved in the planning process, but not just following the usual obligations and the law, but also trying to activate those who are usually not there. Next one. In this respect, practically the work means very much networking. Then for sure you have to analyze. That means you have dialogues, you have workshops, you have meetings all the time, constantly trying to understand who is who, what they are doing, what is the atmosphere in the group, how are the groups in between standing. Then you need to start a little bit to activate the groups, and most of all also to link them. You will not believe it, but they are like pensioner groups who don't know each other. In one city with 12,000 inhabitants, it's possible. Yeah, and starting something which we could call a social dialogue, the next one. Then the second part started together with Attis in October, actually a little bit delayed in November, therefore only 4, next one, 4 months, which we are right now finishing, and it was mainly concentrating on now starting the real communication process in order to, next one, try to, next one, really implement a serious community work, which means a community worker, a community developer, or maybe 2 or 3 of them, somewhere located in the city, serving as a communication link within all the different groups to deal with. Next one. This is, actually can you go 3 further on? Yeah. Go further. So, this one, next one. In order to, these are the main groups we have to deal with. The economy, the authorities, societies, target groups, and then for sure there are also so-called experts. Okay. We skip that because I have, actually we can go to the next slide. I have explained the content of that already, but now the theory is coming from.
Kopiena attīstība no teorētiskā skatu punkta ir ļoti daudz izpētes Ziemeļamerikā, un šis ir viens no tiem procesiem, kas atspoguļo kopienu attīstību. Un pirmais solis ir kopienu organizēšana, cilvēku aktivizēšana, izglītošana un tā tālāk, kas arī bija A.Jakovļeva pirmā daļa. Otrais jau ir plānošanas procesa uzsākšana vai vīziju veidošana, tā var arī būt kaut kādas vidu analīzes, strateģiskās plānošanas un tā tālāk. Tad ir faktu plānošana, īstenošana un novērtējums. Un tam visam pa vidu ir izglītošana un sabiedriskā izglītošana. Jā, process rezultāts. Un svarīgs ir gan viens, gan otrs. Runājot par šīm sabiedrības līdzdalības formām, ir tāds klasisks akadēmisks Einsteina izpētē, kur ir sadalīts šis rangs, kādā veidā mēs varam iesaistīt sabiedrību. Un sākums ir manipulācija terapija, kas ir kaut kāds padomus komitejas. Un jā, Rīgā to ļoti pieprotu tādam tvaika nolaišanai. Un rezultāts nekāds, protams, bet tvaika nolaist. Otrs ir daļēji iesaistīšana, kas ir tā kā vairāk arī plānošanā izmantotas Latvijā. Ir informēšana, konsultācija un samierināšana. Tas ir dažādas aptaujas, arī no atzinumi. Un jā, tas arī Latvijā ir uz pamatiesību, uz pamatiesībām balstīs, ka mums ir jāinformē un jādod informāciju, bet augstākas liklības formas, pat arī deleģētā vārā, tie vēl ir jā. Un katrā šajā procesā ir savs īpašnieks, vai tas ir pašvaldība, vai kāds plānotājs, vai kopiena attīstītājs, tad katrs var pielietot dažādas līdzdalības formas un ir jāņem vērā gan izmaksas, gan profesionāli laiks un finanses. No teorētikas.
Okay, we are late. I just stand there for a moment. The major point you can understand, I have said the same in the beginning as a comment on Janis and Judas' presentation. We understand at work what we are doing to try to strengthen communities, and not only inhabitants and neighborhoods, but also the authorities, also the economy, especially SMEs, small medium enterprises, probably with a focus on small enterprises, and to let them grow, prosper, and try to understand the essential needs of communication and most of all of networking, simply to deal with each other. Next one. Next one. We have had in our project one special tool. We simply, very shortly, want to mention that the northern part of Tampere region has actually a very luxury good at the moment. They have implemented already fully a GIS system. The question was very much if we can use that already in the communication process and in the community development and participation process. In very short terms, I will take it over. In very short terms, we can actually state, even in the so-called high-developed Finnish society regarding IT and everything, no, it's not that useful yet. It is useful and we can do something, but it would probably target only on 5% to 7% or maximum 10% of the society and environment, and that is much too less. Next one. Next one. Next one. There was a small team also, not only artists and me, but also 2 younger students, Finnish students, because we had in the second part now a very clear orientation on young people and a little bit elderly lady, Maya, because we had orientation on elderly people. The results of this project are not yet there. But what is there is that we clearly know that this is a model that can continue. And I think we will try to manage that as soon as possible also here in Latvia, or probably also in Lithuania. That is all. You have something? No? Okay. Thank you. Kiitos.